How interesting.
I love your browser history.
I like that you're not hiding anything from me.
By the way, nice IP address. I like your neighborhood.
You are so special. This ad is just for you.
I learned so many things from you.
You are so generous.
With your personal data.
Switch on privacy, switch off trackers and viruses. Go to nordvpn.com. NordVPN. Safely be you.
Good morning. Welcome to the Done Deal Show. The transfer window is shut. The transfer window is done. But we've still got a lot to talk about and review from yesterday, with Alexander Isak completing his historic move to Liverpool. Arsenal completing what is an unprecedented and an historic window for them. Manchester United fans, I think we're torn as a fan base. Was it a good summer? Was it a brilliant summer? Was it a terrible summer? Was it somewhere in the middle? The PR spin around midfielders and Baleba has already begun, and we need to speak about that today. Obviously, the Guehi deal collapsed at the very last minute last night as well. And yeah, I think there's lots to go through and there's lots to talk about. We're going to play a bit of the interview from Alexander Isak, as well as I think rivals are fearful of how good this deal can be. But I want to thank everyone who's tuning in right now. I want to thank everybody that has supported us throughout the course of this summer. It's been unprecedented for the Football Terrace, both our extra channel, the main channel, my personal channel as well. I don't actually know the numbers. I'm going to have a look. But I think somewhere in the region of 7 to 8 million individuals tuned into us across our platforms last month, which is just, listen, there are some channels that will do 3, 4, 5 times that amount. There are others that will do less. But I'm not really worried about them. I want to thank you, my community, for being here and helping us achieve it. We're going to take calls later on the show as well, but I do want to shout out NordVPN. I was actually meant to work with them on Sunday, but I got so caught up in the excitement of the games that I forgot. But we are sponsored by NordVPN today. You shouldn't be on the internet without protection. And to give you an example of what being on the internet is like without NordVPN, it's like defending corners with Bayandere or Onana in goal. You're not safe. You're in constant danger. And do you want to know if your data has been harvested? Do you want to know if hackers are trying to get into your accounts and have at least half your information? If you get any weird text messages from companies you don't deal with, or any weird emails saying that your message has failed to send, or there's a prince that wants to talk to you, or your product has been dispatched and you go, I didn't order from them, that means your data has been harvested. That means you need NordVPN. So get yourself signed up now. Links in the description or live chat, or scan that QR code in the bottom corner and get that done. But I did want to start with Liverpool, actually, and we'll come into Isak in a moment. But I wanted to start with Liverpool because we saw the news yesterday that the Mark Guehi deal didn't go through. And I can see Newcastle fan Ash sitting backstage with a smile on his face over that news, because the bitterness is going to reign through. That's a joke, of course. But it made me just think. It made me think of something my mum said when I was younger. And it was when she was telling me to be a little bit more assertive in myself. I was at school. I wanted to achieve some things. And she just sort of said, nice guys finish last. And although she explained what that meant, and it wasn't meant to turn me into some misogynist, it wasn't said, she explained it and contextualized it. So it wasn't that just being nice is bad, because being nice is very, very good. But there are times in life where you've got to be less nice, less understanding, and more assertive. And it just, that conversation with my mum popped back into my head yesterday evening when I saw Mark Guehi was still a Crystal Palace player, because Crystal Palace missed out on a centre-back and they couldn't get the deal done. And yes, Isak still only went through sort of 24 hours earlier. But can you imagine if Isak wasn't pushing to leave? Can you imagine if Isak wasn't demanding that he got this move? It's a little bit like think about it as if your football club behaved that way. Imagine this, Newcastle fans. You need a striker, but your club's like, we'll wait till deadline day. We'll see what happens. It's okay. You know, we're not going to disrespect other football clubs. You'd be angry at your club for having that approach. I get angry at players that don't push for what they want. Yes, it can be annoying. Yes, it can be seen as unprofessional. But Wissa has just gone from Brentford, very good club, to a big club in Newcastle. Why? Because he pushed for the move. If Wissa just sat back with his feet up going, you know, whatever happens will happen, it wouldn't have happened. You know, he'd still be a Brentford player, which is not where he wanted to be. And I think it's important for players to push in that regard. And I do think that he's going to maybe look back at this, Mark Guehi, and and potentially regret it. Who knows? He might move in January. He might still become, a title winner of some sort with Liverpool later on this season. But I do think he could end up regretting this. And I also think with Liverpool, I will say this, and we're going to debate on the show. We're going to debate probably on Straight Facts at 3:30 with Aaron and LB, who has had the better window, who won the window. And I know football fans love to discuss this. And a lot of people will naturally go to Liverpool. And I think on paper, you might be right. Although Anton's backstage, he's probably going to say something different. But they may have left themselves, Liverpool, a little bit of a hole at the back. All it takes is an injury or two. And do they have the cover for what I think is going to be one of the most highly competitive, narrow and close Premier League seasons of all time? And I don't necessarily think just because Arsenal lost to Liverpool this Sunday, I think people have made too many overarching statements and conclusion because of a narrow game that was won by a brilliant free kick. And Liverpool are my favourites because they win a lot of games like yesterday. But we all know that a few bad refereeing decisions, we all know that a few bad injuries in a weak area of a team can change the landscape. How do we know this? Manchester United, 2009-2010, going for a 4-peat, missed out by a singular point to Chelsea. That season, the injuries we had to Vidic, the injuries that we had to Rio Ferdinand cost us. Man United fans for 2 years were saying we need more at centre-back. We need better than what we have. We then went and addressed it with, people will laugh now when I say Chris Smalling and Phil Jones. People don't remember how good they were as young players. And you remember what they became. And actually, Phil Jones in his first 18 months, 2 years at Manchester United was mesmerizingly good. Especially his first season, he was playing in midfield. He did remind a lot of United fans of Duncan Edwards. It didn't work out. Majority of that was down to injuries. Same with Chris Smalling, I think. The injuries really stopped their development. But we added those players and then we went and won the league. And United fans were always a little frustrated that we didn't quite do enough. So let's see how this plays out. But from my point of view and perspective, I think Liverpool have had a brilliant window. I just think they have maybe a slight... Let's put my fan on. I just think they maybe have just a slight hole at the back. I know Leone's come in. There's a lot of hype around him. There's a lot of expectation for him to become a top player. But we just have to see. The Cop Father here says, quality-wise, yes, we did. We won. We won with 4 centre-backs last season. Why is this an issue this season, but not last season? So it's a really good challenge. And I'm not saying it's necessarily an issue. We're looking at where... I suppose it's about nitpicking. And you always nitpick when you look at the best teams because none of you... I don't think Arsenal and I don't think Liverpool, to name two of you, I don't think there are glaring holes in your squad. I don't think there are glaring holes in your team. I don't think there's glaring holes in how you play, by and large. Because... a lot of people are looking at the numbers going, Arsenal's chances created from open play is really low compared to everybody else. Fair. But no one else in the league has been away to Man United, in the top 6 teams anyway, have been away to Man United and Liverpool in their opening 3 games. You have to apply that context. Equally, things will level themselves out. But Arsenal actually have a really, really tough opening 5 or 6 games. They then have a pretty decent run after that against mid to relegation level teams where you'll probably see those numbers even themselves out. When you look at, say, Manchester United, I think it's a fairer representation of where we might be from a chance creation perspective because we've played a title challenger, a mid-table team, and a relegation candidate. We've had a little bit more of we've actually had a stop in each sort of section of the league to see how we fare. Some clubs have played a lot of teams down near the bottom. Some teams have played teams up the top. So I'll give you an example with Sunderland. Sunderland are a great example. Sunderland have played West Ham, Burnley, and then somebody else they played, and I forget who they played. Who they play at the weekend, Sunderland? It's going to hurt my brain if I don't remember now. And did they win or did they lose? I don't even remember now. Let me just find out because my brain's gone. They beat Brentford. So some will say, they've started really well. They're 6th. They have, and fair play to them. But West Ham are a relegation candidate. Brentford are a relegation candidate this season after the players that they've lost. And Burnley are considered a relegation candidate. So they've played three teams who are looked at as maybe bottom 5, bottom 6 sides. And they've come out with 6 points, which is great. But their fortunes could change if they go for a period of playing 3 or 4 games on the bounce against top 4 and title-winning sides. They might lose all those games and things change. And I think that's why we've got to get back to what I grew up with. I think it was the right way of looking at it. You don't really assess the league table until 10 games in, because often it takes 10 games for you to play a good mixture of the worst the middle, and the top teams to really gauge where you are as a football team. And I think that's really, really important. But yeah, look, I don't think Liverpool are going to have a bad season because of this. This here says, would we buy any makeshift defenders in the transfer window? No, we wouldn't. We are short in defence. Would you buy? No, I don't think Liverpool would buy makeshift. Typically, Liverpool Football Club under Edwards don't really do that. You will wait to get your main targets. You won't waste money. And I did see a Palace fan yesterday going on about how football fans shouldn't care about the money their clubs spend. I do think this is a silly way to think. You should care how much money your club spends. You should care how much it's wasting, because you burn the... Listen, we've all had that expression. If you burn the candle at both ends, what happens? You know, that wax and wick runs out quick. So you need to be very, very careful. On Alexander Isak, though, I want to play a snippet from what he spoke about yesterday, because I think there's a bit of rival fear going on here. Let's take a listen.
I feel amazing. It's been a long journey, you know, to get here. But I'm super happy to be a part of this team, this club, and everything it stands for. It's something I'm proud of, and I'm really looking forward to.
Why was it Liverpool for you? Why were Liverpool the club you wanted to join?
I think it's a mixture of what the club is building, but what they're building on top of what the club already is and the history of the club. So I think just me getting the chance to be a part of this, and you know, I want to create history. I want to win trophies, and that's ultimately the biggest motivation for me. And I feel like this is a perfect place for me to grow even further, and to take my game and to next level and help the team as well. Finally, they have been waiting for this moment. What would you say to Liverpool fans watching this interview? Just that I'm so happy that I'm finally here.
I'm sorry to the Newcastle fans who had to watch that if you are tuning in. I know that's a little bit like watching your wife marry another man. Or maybe, I don't know, but very sorry about that. But I was listening to it. I listened to the whole 7-minute interview because I think it's important. Rival fans, we do a lot of talking about our rivals' clubs. We do very little time listening to what the players, the managers, and even the fans say. I think it's part of my job to understand it. But that segment there really stood out to me about why Liverpool, why at this point. And it wasn't just the fear for me of watching Isak go to Liverpool. It wasn't just watching them spend £450 million this summer. And yes, I know they sold a lot and people net it off. You know, I don't do net spend because that's not how the clubs really work this out, because it's part of your revenue. And I look more at a club revenue. Liverpool's revenue is going to grow massively over the next couple of years, predominantly partly because of the sales. I saw someone say, we got 190 million in prize money. Yeah, the team that gets relegated gets 150 million in prize money. It's called TV money. Let's not get carried away. You don't get that much more for winning the league than you do for actually getting relegated. And when you include parachute payments, you actually, based on that season you were in, you actually get more for getting relegated from a singular season than you actually do winning the thing. But the revenues are going to jump up massively because they've done a fantastic job of selling. Thus, it's important to care about the money. But it's what Isak said. Basically, I'm paraphrasing here, but a world-class team, and they're looking to build upon it. They're already super strong. They're already brilliant, and they're looking to go to another level. And for me, that was sobering. For me, I looked at it, I listened, and I sort of had this moment of, oh God, I was prepared for him going there, and I've accepted it all summer. That was a coping mechanism. But it's still, when it happened, had this sort of impact of Liverpool were going to be a team to stop. Now, equally, it comes with huge, huge pressure. For me, it's a failure of a season if they're not winning a major and another trophy minimum. So for me, it has to be a Prem or a Champions League and one of the other two trophies, League Cup, FA Cup. I don't think you can be the champions of England, spend as much as you have, buy the world-class talent that you have, and then not be expected to have a multiple trophy winning season, including a major. This Liverpool team now, because of what they've spent, and what you spend is very important, who you buy. you have now got to try and replicate what your great teams of the 70s and 80s did. You've got to try and replicate what Man United's great teams in the 50s and 60s did, in the 90s, the noughties, and the early 2010s did. What Man City have just done, where you're retaining league titles and then you're winning Prems and FA Cups, domestic trebles. That is what they've got to aim for with what they have built. That isn't to play down winning an FA Cup here, a League Cup there, winning the Champions League or Premier League in isolation. But Liverpool have done that over the last 30 years. They've won the Europa League here. They've won the League Cup there. They've won, I think they've had seasons in my lifetime in the Premier era where they've won League Cup and FA Cup in the same year. I think they've done that. They won League Cup, FA Cup, the Europa League in a year. I've seen them win 2 Champions Leagues. I've seen them win 2 Premier Leagues. But what this Liverpool team is aiming for with this spending, in my opinion, is doing Premier League, FA Cup, Premier League, Champions League, Champions League, League Cup. I'm throwing out combinations, trebles, aiming for. Now, I wouldn't set a treble or a quad as a minimum expectation, because that they are. You actually look how many teams have actually won trebles in 170 or about 70 years that you've been able to do it is quite low. So that can't be the bare minimum expectation, but there has to be a high level of expectation to a point where I'm not saying just winning the Premier League is bad. But with what you spend, you've got to be looking to create a dynasty as opposed to just a team that wins the league. That being said, it would be back-to-back league titles. That's part of building a dynasty. And I don't think it all has to happen this season as well. So they might only win the Prem this year. Might only. When I say that, it sounds so stupid. They might win the league this year, retain their title. And people say not enough. But next year, they might complete a 3-peat and win the Champions League. Then you start looking at it as a body of work and you say, huge. So I do think there's pressure on Liverpool in that regard. But that's what happens when you spend this money. And I think Liverpool fans should embrace it. I think Liverpool fans should be excited about it. They really should. Terry asked, sorry, what does it say here? But it's impressive signing, period. That interview brought fear. It was generic and exactly what was expected. Yeah, you're not maybe listening to what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what he said about Liverpool, what they're trying to do, as opposed to his actual words. We have to do it without being scary. Maradon, do you know what? For someone who talks in capitals and really acts like a big man, I'll do this for you. Liverpool are scary. How about that, Maradon? Does that make you feel better? Best team in the world isn't good enough for you. You want to be called scary. For someone who acts like you're a G, you are very sensitive. Very, very, very sensitive. False statement. They spent nothing last year and won the league. Over 2 transfer windows. Spent less than the top 6. They already had a world-class squad. They've just added £450 million worth of talent. They've bought one of the best strikers in the league, one of the best 10s in the world, 2 of the best fullbacks in the world, one of the best up-and-coming centre-backs in the world. There is massive expectations. I think for Liverpool, I know that you can then spread it over the 2 years. I mean, how far do we go with this? Do we work out? Well, actually, they're only the 4th highest spenders in the history of the Premier League. Therefore, there should be no expectation on them. How far do we take this? Because people do this to Arsenal. They go, well, and people keep saying the manager spent £1 billion. Are they actually spent £1 billion yet? I bet it's a bit under £1 billion. But it's £1 billion spent in a period where I think Man City and Chelsea and Man United and Spurs have all spent more than Arsenal. But yet Arsenal's expenditure is they've got to win because of it. But yet we remove all the other context around it. So how are we doing this now? How are we doing this? And which clubs have expectation on them for spending money? Liverpool have to. I've been very fair with Liverpool this season. I've been very respectful of the deals that they've got, and I will remain that. But I can't sit there and watch the team spend what they've spent and add to the world-class talent they already have, renew the contracts of the Mo Salahs, putting them on the most amount of money in the club's history, and then not say there has to be an expectation to start achieving and matching goals of the other great teams in the history of their own club and football, to say that that investment is a resounding success. If they don't retain their Premier League title this year and then don't win it for another 3 years again and pick one up, maybe a League Cup in between, I don't think the investment has paid the dividends. So there has to be an expectation. So when you say false statement, what I'm going to ask you is, let me know what you would like. What do you think is the minimum expectation over the next 3 or 4 years off the back of this expenditure, off the back of this squad? What should your fans accept and go, that is a good enough achievement minimum? I'd love to know. Personally, I'd rather we've got Guehi over Isak. I have seen quite a few Liverpool fans say that online, to be fair. I've seen a lot say that. I've seen a lot talk about that. And I think I think it's fair. Just seen Leone with the Italian national team in a World Cup year. If they can trust him in such an important year, then we shouldn't be worried about not getting Guehi. I think that's fair. I've read some really good things about him. At the same time, like, what's his status within the World Cup squad? For instance, Rio Ferdinand, I want to say he was taken to Euro 96. It might have been the World Cup in 98. As a young kid, he was taken, but there was no desire to play him. It was about experiencing being there. It was like a backup to the backup to the backup within the squad. There was no real chance he would play, but he was there. I'm giving you an example. Where does he sit in the hierarchy of Italy? If he's going to start, fair enough. But who's he competing against? I'm asking these questions because I think it's important to know. Arsenal and City have spent same amounts, even more, bringing previous transfers. Only one team can win a trophy. Yes, well, it's not true. There's 4 trophies that you can win. What I would say to that, but there is an expectation on City and Arsenal as well. So what I'm not doing, and this is where sometimes football fans let themselves down. And I'm talking about you, not the wider berth. You let yourself down. I'm not saying there are not expectations now on Arsenal. I am not saying there are not expectations on City. In fact, you could argue there's even more pressure on City if you watched the match reaction show on Sunday when they lost. But we're talking Liverpool specifically, and we can't just do whataboutery. Let's have a conversation. City have spent more money than Liverpool and Arsenal between January and this summer. And there is massive pressure on Pep to deliver. I think his Premier League legacy is at stake. And what do I mean by that? It'll always be known as generational. It'll always be known as one of the best managers in this league. But there were pundits 18 months ago saying he's better than Fergie. I'm talking that legacy debate. If he has a bad season after dropping just under $500 million in the last 6 months on his squad, and they're not competing for the league title 2 years running, that's damaging. If he's on the sidelines come November, scratching his face to pieces, that's damaging. And I've sat there and I've said that. Equally, Arteta has to start winning trophies. I've been saying it for 2 years. So what I haven't done once is sat here and say that in isolation, all the pressure is on Liverpool Football Club. There's pressure upon all three. But when we're specifically talking about Liverpool, that is the subject matter at that moment. At that moment. I think Liverpool have to have pressure on them. Man United have got pressure on them. It's different. The expectations right now are different. There is an expectation to get back to that level, but the starting points are not always the same. And the SP, what's the SP? I said this a lot. What's the SP? What's the starting point of a team? And Liverpool are starting the season as the best team in the league. They've added £450 million worth of talent. Yes, they've sold, but this is why I don't do the net spend argument. What you've added versus what you've sold, it's the talent that you've added into your team is huge. You've sold a lot of players that weren't good enough for good money, by the way. But it's the upgrade. Look at all the players you've upgraded on. How can the expectation for even more to be achieved not go up when you've improved further? If Man United got rid of Rasmus and bought Dominic Calvert-Lewin, if Man United didn't bring in Cunha and didn't bring in Mbumo, and we went out and bought, I don't know, we bought Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Danny Welbeck, and who's an average 10 in the Premier League, who's an average player, and Fabio Vieira. Say that's who we bought instead. My expectations for Man United to improve would go away. I'd be expecting this to get worse. You can't improve your team and then not have higher expectations for them. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. So, yeah, I'm not going to play that game. Morning, Terry. Shameful from Crystal Palace and Oliver Grasner in particular. Proof that nice guys finish last. Horrible example to set. No, I don't think it's a horrible example to set. Equally, I'm in full defense of the manager. I believe in certain walks of life, not all. None of these footballers, none of these clubs are going bankrupt. None of these players are not going to be able to afford to pay their electric bill next week. All is fair in love and war, baby. All is fair in love and war of the transfer window. And all Glasner has done is the same as Isak and Wissa have done. What's best for me? What's best for my team this year? That's it. I don't look at it as shame on them. I really don't. The same as I don't think Liverpool should feel shame for turning Kirkes's head, turning Frimpong's head. You know, look at the exodus of players from Bayer Leverkusen. Should any of the teams that have bought those players feel guilty? Oh, you've left that fan base with a hollow team. Shame on them. No, we shouldn't. Equally, Palace and Glasgow have got to do what's right for them as well, right? Why should they not have the same right as you to do what's best for them? Terry, watch most of your stuff. Gone off Twistbridge. Your poll should be... your polls, though, are super annoying. Otherwise, keep up the good work. You speak a lot of sense. Cheers, Gav. Man like Shifty. Great movie with Danny Mays. I can't remember the other actor's name, called Shifty. Great movie. Oh, I saw Danny Mays last night in another film called The Murder Club. Thursday Murder Club. Oh, listen, I'm a fine one to talk because I'm a fat git. But God, he's put on some weight. Look after yourself, Danny. Great actor. But yeah, Shifty. I know not everyone likes my polls where I'm encouraging people to hit the like button, but people forget to do it. If everyone just came here and hit the like button, I wouldn't need to remind anyone. So, by the way, get the like button hit if you haven't done so already. Okay, lads, allow criticism. Let me go to this other page. I can't read these super chats. They move too quick. Allow criticism to Liverpool. We just had possibly the greatest transfer window ever. The extremist opinions in the game are crazy. Go debate. Yeah, I don't even think I'm criticizing Liverpool. I've praised everything you've done. I think it's sobering as a rival. I think it's fantastic. But it does come with an expectation. You can't spend like that and then not be expected, depending on your starting point, to improve. Like, Sunderland can't have the window they had and not be expected to survive. They can't. They cannot. Impossibility. Man United can't have the window we've had and not be expected to get better. Push up into the top half of the table and push for European positions. I think we should be pushing for the club to do that at least. We've gone and spent £200 million on a new attack that scored more goals collectively last year than our entire team. There has to be an expectation on them to do it. The new goalkeeper's come in, Lemaines, and it's a nice segue into this part of the show. He's come in, statistically better than what we've got. There has to be an expectation on him, not a grueling, aggressive, nasty one, that he's a better goalkeeper, because we've gone and spent millions and millions of pounds on him. So there's always got to be expectations. Sometimes they go up, sometimes they go down, depending upon the transfer activity you do. That's the fucking point of the transfer window. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Come on. We can't sit in this world where everyone goes, we won the transfer window. Your expectations gone up for next year. No, why would they? Like, you've improved your team. So what? What do you mean, so what? I don't even understand what we're doing anymore as football fans. Crazy. And I'm not even part of Standards FC. But yeah, Terry, you happy with Manchester United's window? 5.5 out of 10, I gave it. My personal opinion, 5.5 out of 10. Why? I went through it last night in a bit more detail. Do I think it's this shambles, chaotic disaster? No. Do I think it was amazing? No. Attacking wise, I think we bought very well. I'm very excited about a new goalkeeper. But what I don't believe is the Baleba spin this morning. I don't believe the Baleba spin. I don't believe the idea that midfield wasn't a priority. I don't believe that we didn't want to, and we're not worried. And the sort of, it's okay, we're going to wait until January. We didn't need to fix. We knew we couldn't fix a whole squad now. And they're putting that statement in with this notion of like, with this sort of notion of everything's okay. It's not even a priority. We're really, really happy with the midfield that we've got. Well, you made inquiries just yesterday about Conor Gallagher. You did attempt to try and sign Baleba. I do think we were priced out of a move. I think the club probably got told. I know that the journalists keep saying there was no price given, but I bet there was some indication of 110, 120 million. We were told Caicedo money. Therefore, there is a price in that if you're able to. You don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to deduct what that means. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, if I show my daughter the price of something and say, this remote costs £5. This lens cap costs the same as that remote. How much does it cost? My 7-year-old daughter will go, £5. So, yeah, we don't need to be given a price to understand the price. And I do think Man United went too steep. And whether that's because we didn't have enough money or they're being cheap, I think remains to be seen. And the reason why I'm not defending them here, I'm just putting out some balance. If next summer they drop 100 million on him, then we know it was because we didn't have the money this summer. If next summer we don't go near anyone of that level and everything's 50, 60 millions, then maybe we know that we're not prepared to spend that kind of money. That being said, I want Baleba. I'd have paid the money. So I'm not changing my opinion. I am nervous as a Man United fan when we start dropping 80s, 90s, 100 millions on players, because pretty much every single one we've ever dropped that kind of money on has never really lived up to the expectation. Pogba did the best and did a very good job for us, but I still don't think, I think through injuries and falling out with managers, we still didn't get the very best and most consistent Paul Pogba. So there is part of me that doesn't really want to break that sort of 70, 80 million pound plus mark, because of how bad we've done with it. I'm a little bit, once bitten, twice shy. Big up, Georgie. Hope you're good. Well, you're not good. Yeah, up there, I hope you're good. Big up, George Michael. Is that his line? Once bitten, twice shy? Yeah, I think it was Wham! White Christmas, I think. Not White Christmas, Last Christmas. Love that song. Great song, great Christmas song. Christmas soon. Do you know what's nice? In about 6 weeks, I get to put on the Bublé Christmas album. I can't put it, I'm never allowed to put it on until mid-October in my house. I get in trouble. That'll be getting cracked open. I'll have a nice Sunday evening after the football. I'll have a little Christmas Bublé bath. Amazing. And if you're laughing at that, you're going, oh my God, what's Terry talking about? That's your insecurities, not mine. All right, sweet cheeks. But yeah, look, as I say, overall with Man United's window, happy with parts, not with others. 5.5. Some people have said I was a bit harsh yesterday on the bomb squad. In fact, United's hands were quite tired. I tell you what, I got annoyed yesterday, though. Do you see the way they gave Anthony that hero's welcome? Honestly, I thought Michael Jackson was alive. Right? And they're telling me, oh, we could barely afford anything for him. Honestly, that it's the wages. The wages did make it hard for us to get good salary fees for these players. And that's one thing I'm really glad is behind Manchester United. I'm really glad that's behind us now. Yes, there's Mount, who's on probably too much money, but I just get this feeling Mount won't be too much of a problem. I think Mount would take a pay cut if the club didn't want him anymore. Just gives me that vibe. Where like Garnacho's of this world. Garnacho wasn't even on that much money, but I'm just not going nowhere unless I go to Chelsea. I don't know if we're going to have that next year. That being said, it was the best summer in the history of our club for money coming in, the sale of players and add-ons and everything else. So wasn't disastrous, but I'd have just liked it done a little bit quicker. So there we go. Before I bring the calls on as well, callers and panel, we've got some good people backstage. We've got Dave in his gym looking ready to go. I thought it was a green screen, and then I realized it isn't. It's actually a gym. I love that. KJ's backstage with a Man United top on. Ugh, Glazer simp. We've got Ash coming on, Newcastle simp. And we've got Anton coming on, stat simp. Ready to do his stuff. Pressure and expectations are needed in a giant club. Exactly. Gregory. Round of applause for Gregory. Round of applause for Gregory. Of course. The expectations are part of it. There's part of it. It makes... embrace it. Because then if you win, the feeling's even better. Isn't that part of it? I was speaking to a friend of mine this morning who's a gooner, and he was like, oh, Liverpool going to win league. I'm done with football. And I blasted him. I can't take... I'll tell you what I called him. I called him a stupid... Because I was sitting there and like, what's wrong with you? This is football, isn't it? So my team ain't nowhere near that level. So I'm kind of maybe a little checked out. I said, but when we were younger, we grew up together. Me and it's like, and I'm like, when we were younger, we all did good business. And it was like, let's go, come on. We backed our teams. We took out our sword and our shield, metaphorically, in case anyone reports a video for violence. And we said, let's have it. I just find football fans now, it's all, oh no, we're going to lose. Oh, it's rubbish. I'm not going to watch. Why have we become so soft? Losing is part of winning. It's part of it. You can't watch football if you can't handle losing. Because do you want to know a fact? Do you want to know a fact? Even the most successful teams in history lose on average 3 times more than they win. Trophies, not games. If you look how many years football has existed in England, league football, 140 years? Man United and Liverpool have 20 league titles each. So league-wise, this doesn't defend bad season. I'm just talking in general. If you can't handle losing, don't watch football. Because what that means is that even if your team is the most successful league side in the history of England, it still means that you are losing 5 to 6 times more than you're winning. If you can't handle the losing, don't watch the game. Football is not for you. Standards. No, because football would have died if people only ever watched it to win the league and stopped watching it or gave up when they didn't. Just deep it for a moment. Why would any of those Grimsby fans have been at the game last night if the only thing about football that's important is winning? It is the thrill of the chase. It is the journey. It is the camaraderie. It is sometimes just blindly backing your club. Now, not every scenario is the same. I totally get when you're in Man United's current predicament, there are things you must challenge. There are managers' heads that have to be called for, players that need to go. Even successful run clubs might go, that sporting director's got to go, he did a bad job. That striker we bought, he ain't good enough, he's got to go. There are times and there are moments for that as well. Of course there are. It isn't just every day, it's great, because it's not about being polarized and extreme. But you've got to, especially when you're a good team like Liverpool, you've got to embrace the expectations, put your Liverpool shield on and say, let's have it. Instead of, don't put that on my team. That's not fair. They spent money too. What's happened to everyone? Why is everyone so weak? Why is everyone so weak? On Arsenal, though, what an amazing window they had. Genuinely, what an amazing window. What an historic window they had. And I was thinking about it a lot last night because yesterday was about Isak and Guehi and United's goalkeeper and Donnarumma and everything else that was going on. And I had this thought last night about 10:30 at night. I don't know why the time's important, but I'm just telling you anyway. I sat there and went, oh, Arsenal did nothing today. And then I remembered why. Because they got it done already. They had Hincapié right at the end of the window, who, again, I'm not going to sit here and go, I know everything about him. You know, I'm an anorak, you know, and get out my stats, right? And I'll tell you this. But what I've read about him since Arsenal were linked with him, the scouting reports, and not stuff written in the last 2 months. No, go back a year. Go back 18 months and read what was being said about him. Go and look at some of his performances. Go and review the way he plays. You could never tell, but all transfers are done on paper, as in how good or bad they're going to be, especially when they come from other leagues. But Anton said this on the show last week, and he could be right. He really could be one of the best left backs in the league almost instantly. He's so talented. And it's kind of a deal that's come in and no one's even really focusing on. Mosquera came onto the pitch at Anfield the other day. Did you notice he was there? It's a good thing, by the way. You didn't. Could have been Saliba. I couldn't tell the difference. I really couldn't. Every bit as comfortable. By the way, at Anfield. And I'm going to repeat this. Anfield. It's like going to the Colosseum in the old days. Not now. It's not a tourist attraction. You know what I'm talking about. Gladiator settings. Water off a duck's back. We know how good Zubimendi is. I've seen Gyökeres get a bit of stick again for his performance away at Anfield. And I saw all these Liverpool fans like doing up stat compilations. Oh, terrible, terrible, terrible. And all the replies are hilarious because it's just people showing that Ekitike stats were basically the same. Because both teams just defended so very, very well in that game. Yes, I think Arsenal could have played some riskier passes and tried to put him in a little bit more. But that being said, I don't think it was because Gyökeres is a bad signing. Eze, I think, should have started the game, to be fair, but that's on the manager. What a window they've had. The balance, the depth they've added, the quality to their first team, very similar. And if a couple of people that were angry about my expectations on Liverpool would have just waited, the expectations on Arsenal are massive now. Massive. The biggest they've been probably since the start of the 2004-05 season after going invincible, or the 98-99 season where they were the favourites to win the league and retain their title after winning a double the year before. I think it's maybe the biggest expectation since then. This team is more than capable of winning the league, more than capable of winning the Champions League from a talent perspective. It's about the team and Arteta now putting this together and getting over the line, winning trophies. It's what they've been judged on for the past 2 years because the rebuild was complete, but they've now added on top. similarly to Liverpool. They've added on top of an already very good team. And you may not rate every player, Noni Madueke. I know people still aren't keen on him, and I get that. And I still think that was a bit of a strange one. I think they could have spent the money elsewhere. Mohamed Kudus as an example. That all being said, Arsenal have got a little bit of an injury crisis at the moment, and you're not really noticing it. You're not noticing it because what they've got starting the games and what they still have on their bench is still strong. And you've even got the likes of Dalman and Waneri that were already at the club who are also going to get game time this year. So I think it is an historic window. They promised Arsenal fans it would be unprecedented. They've delivered that. But now it's one thing I hate about the window shutting is that you get an international break just after. I think we'd all love now to go into like 3 or 4 or 5 weeks of football straight away. Let's sink our teeth into it. But instead, you get this horrible start to the season, which is 3 games break, another 3 games and a break, another couple of games and a break. You never really get into a full flow until sort of late November through till March. And it does frustrate me. Maybe it's still working it, so I feel it a little bit more now. But yeah, an amazing summer for Arsenal. But I do want to ask you all a question, and I'm going to create a poll for this. But who won the transfer window? And I can only do a poll with 4 options. So don't cry if your club ain't there as an option, because I can only fit 4 on there. But who won the transfer window? And then I'm bringing out my panel. We're going to list the teams that maybe won it. And we're basing it on the improvements to your squad, not the sales, okay? Because that's the way I want to frame this. That isn't to take away from you, Chelsea, because Chelsea had a fantastic summer of selling. But I'll talk about what you then spent the money on to improve your club. I put Chelsea, I put Liverpool, I put Arsenal. I'm going to throw in a bit of a curveball. And you can vote pound for pound if you want. I've thrown Sunderland in there. One, because it ain't United or City. Actually, I will say this. I think pound for pound, City might have had the worst window of the top 6 teams. I don't know why. Just something about, maybe Donnarumma changes it. And maybe it's because I expected more than they did. I expected a lot more than they did. I just feel a bit like, oh, is that it? Is that it? You ever like an album drop for a singer you're like, and you're like, oh, I can't wait for the new album, and it drops, and you listen to all the songs, and you're sitting there, and you're like, okay, is this? I'm 12 songs into the 13-song album. Are we still on the intro? When's the bangers coming? I feel a bit like that with City. That started really fast. Do you know what I mean? It was like a young buck. You know what I mean? Look good, in shape, start fast, then really quickly and badly. Do you know what I'm saying? Is that it? Yeah, I'm done. Oh, God. Do you know what I'm saying? You young'uns know. One of them ones. Ash definitely knows. That's Ash. You know 100%. Gym settings. Free pump gone. Anyway, let me put the poll out there, then I'm bringing out my people to have a little chat with us this morning. If you haven't hit the like button yet, by the way, why? Get it? Yeah, peak too soon is... and my dad always used to say, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Read into that what you will. Loads of people that are watching this with their other halves, they're looking right now going, how do I finish? Top peak, okay? If you have to ask, don't ask. It's insecurity. Never ask. You might be. I was actually watching Kevin Hart last night. He's one of his old stand-ups. Did make me die. I'm not going to repeat the stuff that he said because I can't make it sound funny like him. But amazing. Terry Tibbs, who's a Liverpool fan, says, I'm so glad Isak is a red 21 loading. You'll never walk alone. Big up yourself, Tez. Sunny here says, Terry, I hope we get the Arsenal DNA play back. Our defense is the best in the league. When attacks click, we will be cooking something special. Yeah, look, I get where you're coming from. I thought your attack looked amazing, really, against Leeds once you settled down. I stand on this, though, and I know the match day fans will have a bigger say in this, but I know fans read what goes on online. We know this. This summer, most of our clubs had social media influencers in and around their summer training camps, and the footballers knew who the fuck all the influencers were. How do they know? Because they watch. And I do think Arsenal play better when their fans are more relaxed. And I know people say, Terry, I'm allowed to criticize. You are. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Just giving you an observation that whenever in my life I've seen Arsenal do well, it's when the fan base is a bit more relaxed. And what I'm seeing at the start of this season, the Leeds game was like the sorts of the microcosm of this. It was, oh, well, I'm so excited. You started really well. Then the fans got a bit nervous in the ground and it got a bit quiet and the play slowed down. It didn't look very good. Then you scored a couple of goals and the energy was great and you blew them away. And there's this element of, can you maintain that energy as fans and persevere through the adversity and the nerves and support your team, even when you have an instinct to go the other way? Will that help? Because I've got a theory with Man United that's the same. I want to see how many Man United content creators will follow me on this path. Can't do it alone, because otherwise I'm turning up to an earthquake with a dustpan and brush. I'm helping a bit. I would like to see Man United fans online, no matter how angry they get, stay positive for 6 months and just support the team blindly. Yes, blindly. And say, it's okay, guys, come on. And just be encouraging. I've got a theory we'll become a better team. Just a theory. Based on, we've been angry for 13 years and we keep getting worse. So how about we try the opposite reaction and see if we get better? Just, it's a theory. It's a theory. You know, if you're trying something and it ain't working, you try a different way. I was trying to do a Rubik's Cube the other day. It wasn't working. So I'll try doing new things. I'm just putting it out there. But as I suspect, and again, don't you dare, no, don't you dare say, what about their content? Don't you dare say, what about their content creation and their income? Man United fans, Arsenal, don't make content to make money. They do it to help for the betterment of their football club. It's not about making, they don't care. There is no Man United content creator that would care if they suddenly got 30, 40, 50, 60% less views because they weren't slagging off their club. There is no Arsenal fan that would care if their TikTok account or their YouTube account got less views because they were being more positive for 6 months. All they care about is improving their team. So I'm not. No, I see you there, Tom, in the comments. Don't you dare suggest that they do it for money. You're a liar. They are not doing it for money. They are not. I stand with them. My fellow content creators, we stand together. We do this for the betterment of our football clubs. So, of course, why would they not be up for giving it a go? Just test the theory. And I'll do a deal. If we see no marks improvement, I'll go double toxic for you for a laugh, even when I don't feel like it. I'll put it on to see if that helps. I'll do Standards FC on steroids. You don't put steroids in your arm. You normally put them in your ass, but you know what I mean? I'll do it. How about we do that deal? Will they join me? I doubt it. They wouldn't even join me for calling out the Glazers 5 years ago. No, I can't be doing that. Why? Well, because I want to go to games. I want to do shirt reviews. But they won't do it. But I'm just saying. But they don't do what they do for money. No, don't you dare say that. Don't you dare say that. You do it for money. Say what you want. I don't care. Let's try it. Hype perception is often reality. Aim small, miss small. Look. Yes, in some walks of life, yes. If you put a big business plan together, throw all your money into it, and it goes wrong, you can go bankrupt. Oh, it's over. But you can't aim small when your club's done the B. If your club has done the big one, you can't be like, oh, do you know what? Champions League quarterfinal, League Cup, that'll do me. That'll do me. I'll be up, feet up, cup of tea. I haven't got a cup to do it with. Cup of tea, I'll be happy. Aim small, miss small. It can't quite do that when you've just dropped £500 million on players. Big one's been done. All right, let's bring my panel out now. Enough waffle from me. Waffle. Waffles. German waffles. You know, Germans don't pronounce the... You know, it's not BMW. You know, it's BMW. We've all been saying it wrong. Where's my earphones? Oh, shit, that's loud. Let me turn them down. I can hear things. I hear dead people. Who's here with me? Right. KJ's here. Anton, David, Pav, and we've got Anton as well. Welcome, gentlemen, back to the show. Oh, hang on, I've got a super chat here for you.
Wow, Dave.
All right, Dave.
The gun's away.
Wow. Do you know what? I just realised why you're so angry. It's steroids, isn't it? That's why.
Yeah. I want the gear.
That's only why it's up from here, the camera, because you can see the shots in his arse.
No, do you know what it is? It's because he doesn't do legs. He looks like a toffee apple, skinny legs. No, do you know what? That you definitely do legs. I see a guy in my gym the other day. I'd say upper body, maybe the biggest I've ever seen. Genuinely had legs like a sparrow. I was like, bruv. I was worried about him in strong winds the other day. I thought he's gonna go over. He's gonna go over, man. Little super chat here for Ash. It says, "Gimme a striker from Sweden." What's that all about, Ash?
You can have him, mate.
It's a chant.
We've never sung that song at all at St James's Park. Never.
He's not even the best striker from Sweden.
Oh.
Was that kind of tired though, isn't he?
I say you want about all time.
Yeah. Look, there's obviously here to speak about whatever you guys want to. I want to have a little bit of a chat about who won the summer transfer window. The poll currently saying Liverpool with 70% of the vote. You agree with that, Dave?
100%. And what you're saying, they have to win the Premier League. They put their chips all in here to make sure they get their 21st title. That's what they've done. It's pretty obvious. I mean, they've won the transfer window. Arsenal were close, I cannot lie, but for me, it's a no-brainer. Liverpool have to win the Premier League. The pressure's all on them, and this may be a good thing for Arsenal, actually. Like them getting Isak in the last little bit there. It's a shame they didn't get Guehi, but that shows that they are going all in. They've won the transfer window without a shadow of a doubt.
No, I do agree with you. The expectations also got to be there. Anton, do you agree or disagree? Because I know that you've. I'm going to preface this by putting this out there. I saw your graphics. You think that Arsenal maybe have won it because you believe you've now got the most balanced and complete squad in the Premier League.
I do. Okay, like it's twofold because I do think that breaking the transfer window twice, like I have to kind of put my unbiased hat on as well. Try to be fair here. Breaking the British transfer window twice does put a lot of pressure on them, and that is something that's very unprecedented. But yeah, what I would say is that there are many different ways to judge a window, and one way I definitely judge a window is like from my team point of view. I forget about all the other teams. Is like I need X position, Y position, Z position, right? Have I filled all of those things? I got a shopping list. Have I come home from the grocery store with all the things that my wife put on the shopping list, or did I miss a few things? So like for me, Arsenal came home with everything on the shopping list ticked off, and Liverpool bought like a really, really nice car, but they forgot the tires. Oh shit. Like maybe the tires have been an extreme. Yeah. I'm trying to find something that they forgot home, but that would be depth on the wing because they sold Luis Diaz, which I keep saying and people keep forgetting. Remember when Luis Diaz was being sold and everyone's like, oh, they're going to go get Rodrigo now. They're going to go get some sort of winger. That winger never came in. They have a young 18-year-old now. I'm telling you, that kid's playing out well. He stepped up, scored a big goal. But to rely on that, you have a lot of games throughout this entire season. To rely on him to be able to come up with that every single time, or let's say you get a gap going down, and then all of a sudden he's stepping in. It's when Arsenal, if we lose Eze, we're still back to the wingers we had last year. Now those aren't really good enough for me in general, but there's still like Premier League proven reliable options. Like Arsenal, we had like. I said we reckon I need around 7 or 8 players. We got 8 players. We have depth in all of the positions. But think about it. They might brought Isak and Wirtz, right? But we brought Eberechi Eze, Victor Gyökeres, Martin Zubimendi, Incape, who I believe will be a starter on the left, and I swear by him, guys. Like seriously, he is going to surprise so many people with how good he is and how perfect he's going to fit in this league. And then as well, we got Madueke now solves our Saka problem in terms of depth. We have Norgard who comes in, and people who are saying that's a downgrade on Jorginho need to understand that Jorginho, like when we were in the semifinals of the Champions League and Partey was out, we had nobody to fill that role. Like, I forgot exactly who was playing in the deep center midfield in that game, but yeah, it was a big issue. And so now at least Norgard is there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I hear where you're coming from. I look at it this way: Liverpool may have won the transfer window, but I don't think that's a reason for Arsenal fans to be angry, because you still had a very good one. And I think we've created, and I do blame the manosphere. I do blame the Standards FC people that sort of, no, and I mean this. I don't even mean it in a horrible way. People that are, if what I've got isn't considered the best, I can't be happy with it. And there is this weird thing online at the moment in general life where accepting things that are not the absolute best is seen as a weakness, which is just ridiculous, because you can't always win everything. And in reality, winning the transfer window at this stage is one thing. You actually want to win the transfer window come the end of the season when it actually works, because West Ham United were considered the winners of the transfer window a year ago by most people. They went, oh, you know what, pound for pound, everyone was like they had the best window. It didn't really work out for them in reality. A lot of us will say Sunderland have had a good window. They get relegated and Burnley stay up. We'll look back and go, shit window, really, weren't it? They wasted loads of money. So I do look at it from that perspective as well. I don't think Arsenal fans should be panicking. You probably had the best window in the history of
our
your
club.
football club.
Well, my dad put it really well. This, like, I've said this about on 3 podcasts now, but I just thought it was so good. Like, Arsenal got everything they needed done in the window. Liverpool also got everything they believed they needed in the window. So we can only control how much we can control. Other factors is not something that we should really be worrying about. So this will basically, this is what my dad said verbatim. And he's been watching football. My dad's like in his 60s. Yeah, he's been watching Premier League. He used to go out in the Highbury in the 60s and 70s. Yeah. He said, this is the greatest most talented Arsenal squad has ever seen, and the most talented Liverpool squad has ever seen. Let's see who comes out on top. Best Arsenal, best Liverpool. And that's all that, both of those clubs could have done. And you have to see what results out of that.
No, I totally agree. You put in a face, KJ. What's that? Go on.
Yeah, just the comment of the most talented squad that each club's ever seen. It's hard to confirm that when I've seen Arsenal go invincible with a very highly talented squad as well. Like,
I think it was sort of in a different sort of way. Like we had, the Henrys, the Piers, the Vieiras, the Bergkamps, and they were incredible players. But I just don't think we had the depth as much as we do now. But we had we were really well coached. We had a lot of players who went to other clubs afterwards and were nowhere near as successful. Like sort of Man United had similar stuff as well. Like very.
Yeah, you gotta think about it this way though. The need to have bigger squads was not as big back then as it is now.
You can't use that as comparative.
Just because you've got 30 players who are all talented now doesn't mean, well, because we didn't have 30 players as talented back then, now it's better. Because they didn't need 30 players back then.
You can't use that as an argument, because if that was the case, they wouldn't have gone invincible. Like, and that's where that argument ends. Like, straight up.
I think it's different between talent and great. So, like, great performance and great talent are different things.
Answer me this: would Henry get into your squad right now?
Of course.
Henry
is the greatest player ever. That's. Look, I'm not going to try to.
I'm just saying, all these players would get into your starting squad right now. I think it's that whole problem is recency bias. Recency bias is a big thing nowadays.
Maybe he was just too young to remember them.
But this is Anton. That's what I'm about to say. Anton, how old were you? How old were you?
Well, I was born in 92. It was 12.
Okay, so what I will say is this: you will remember it at 12 years old. But football feels different when you're 12 to what it does when you're an adult. I think we all look at it. You just look at the world different. You view things different. There's no way as a 12-year-old you assess football how you assess football. We all assess football today. It's very like when you're growing up as a kid. This is why I get confused by Man United fans at my age when you go, "Oh, who inspired you the most? Who are your favorite players as a kid?" And they name their top 20 and they don't mention a Man United player. Because when you were a kid growing up watching football, you didn't. We would have said Jasper Blomqvist was one of the best wingers in the league back when we were kids, because you just backed your team blindly, right? So you don't assess the same as a kid as you do when you're an adult in that regard. this is definitely one of the most talented Arsenal squads I've seen in the last 20 years. That's what.
By the way, there are many of these players that can make into that 11 for the Invincibles. Like Bukayo Saka would start ahead of Freddie Ljungberg for me, definitely. Like as an example. Yes, he would.
Who else would you put into the Invincible team?
I'd probably keep Sol Campbell. So one of Saliba and Gabriel.
Probably.
One of Saliba and Gabriel I would put next to Sol Campbell. I have to keep Sol Campbell in.
Only Saka and Rice gets into the Invincible team. Only Saka.
Rice gets in for sure next to
Rice gets in ahead of Gilberto Silva, and Saka maybe gets in ahead of Ljungberg. That is it, bruv. No one else.
Yeah, obviously
Raya gets in. I wasn't afraid of
Demon. Raya gets in ahead of Demon.
Layman was the goalkeeper.
Was it Layman?
If I'm correct, you guys did have Joe Cole at left back, right?
Ashley
Cole. Sorry, Ashley Cole at left back. Right? Yeah, no one's touching.
Right back, we got Loren. Like Timber would play. I would think Timber is better player than Loren.
That's recency, man. That is.
That's
recency.
not.
It is what Terry said. It's because you viewed it differently back then. You've got more of a bias now because you're an adult.
You also need to think
you're viewing football differently than what back then. You're probably just having fun with it. You're probably more out and about with your mates, and you weren't too fussed what was going on. But you're looking at it differently, 100%.
You've got to think about what they also bring into the squad as a whole, because you can't have every single player being a massive star boy. Like if you had a squad where you just had to say like Kylian Mbappe, Messi, Ronaldo, that is an amazing front line, but in actuality, it doesn't really work.
We played a team like that last year in the Champions League, and we beat them 5-1 on aggregate.
Yeah, and also
exactly.
Well, we got to think as well. What were you trying to do? The style of football you're trying to play then compared to now? Because what Arteta does is very different to what Wenger was doing.
I reckon Arteta is more George Graham than he is Arsene Wenger.
Yeah,
he is. But I also find it interesting about the DNA. I remember Lee. I think it was Lee Gunner said this once. So I don't want to if it wasn't him, then I apologize. If it was, I'm giving him credit. I think people were complaining about style of football at the club, and I don't remember who the manager was at the time. And he said, "Well, everyone goes on about the Wenger style, but that was only during the Wenger era. Prior to Wenger, Arsenal were renowned 1-0 to the Arsenal. Still a chance because of how
when Sam was telling me about attacking football, that's what I wanted to say. Like I thought about that afterwards.
Which is why when I hear Man United fans talk about we want controlling midfielders, we want to dominate, we want to be more like peak Barca. I'm not against it because I'm not married to any particular style of football, but I often think, what made you fall in love with Man United in the first place? We've never really been that team. So I'm always I always sometimes feel like some of these fans, my opinion, picked Man United because the Premier League was bigger and more popular, but picked us because we were winning and it was a way of boasting, but actually preferred teams like Barcelona to watch and support. Because you often listen to a lot of them and say, who are your favorite players growing up? And it's all the Barca legends. And they don't mention the United legends. And I'm like, I know that there's bias always in that. Everyone's top 10 players of all time. There's always a percentage of bias in all of it with players that because Newcastle fans that grew up in my era, your Alan Shearer could be there, but they're going to be throwing in Ginolas and, maybe an Asprilla in there because you love those guys. It doesn't matter. They weren't really as good as the other players. So when I hear like certain United fans of my generation, like top 10 players, and they list like 5 Real Madrid and 5 Barca players and not one of their own, I often think, and they love a style of football that our club has never played. I always think, did you pick us for the right reasons? I'm not sure. I wonder if they could go back and change that. They wish that when they moved into the social media world, I bet they wish they picked Barca or Real Madrid as the team they really supported. I just get this gut feeling.
I don't know. I never could support a Spanish team. Like I don't speak Spanish. Like it just doesn't feel like me. Like,
but even with the whole pick, like Real Madrid, you pick Real Madrid because they win, but not because of the football. Because they change football all the time.
Sounds like what we call in America bandwagoning. Bandwagoning.
Yeah. There's a lot of bandwagoning in football, but that's what it is because you got a lot of casuals. And listen, I've got no problem with casual fans. Like that's how the sport grows. The more casual fans you have, the more eyes get on it, and therefore people get into it more slowly over time. So I've got no problem with casual fans, but casual fans, because they're casual, will pick who are the biggest, who are the best, who are winning more, whose players score goals so I can like them. That's basically what it is, and that's just human nature. When you get into F1, more time like F1, I got into F1 because of Lewis Hamilton. I didn't know much more outside of Lewis Hamilton until I decided to take more time to watch the sport. You know, like it just is. That's the way it is.
Yeah, but I'm like that when it comes to MMA. Not so much, but I'm a casual boxer. I like boxing, but I'm more casual. MMA, I sort of follow it as a sport. And I actually hate hearing casuals talk about that sport.
I hate hearing casuals talk about the NFL. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, NFL, I'm a casual fan. I do have this sort of belief that if you're a casual fan of a sport, you should just enjoy the spectacle and then keep your mouth shut. Genuinely. I'm like that with the NFL. I watch maybe 5 or 6 games a year. I watch the Super Bowl. I enjoy it. I never give a suggestion on anything, the way it should be run, how they should do things. Because I just listen, I look at it and think, I don't think casuals have the right. I'm actually
very interested to hear. Terry, can you name me 5 NFL players? Just 5.
Saquon Barkley. No.
Saquon Barkley, good one.
Yeah, that's
I met him. Yeah. That's why I met him while he
met Saquon Barkley.
I met him randomly. I was working at Penn State College. I was doing there with the banking world, and the what are they called? The fraternity that I was working alongside, because they're guys that were going into like the banking world. One of the guys was dating a girl that was part of a sorority, and we were at this kind of event, and Saquon Barkley's girlfriend at the time and his baby mum, she was part of that sorority, and he was there.
Still together now.
I have no idea.
I think his wife.
I didn't realize who I was meeting. He was just about to leave college.
He just got named number 1 best player in the NFL on the top.
Yeah. Again, when I met him, it was like, "Hi, how are you?" It was 5 minutes of talking. Then I cracked on with my day, and it wasn't until a couple of years later, maybe a year later, I kind of realized who he was. But yeah, I randomly met him at Penn State, which is where he played. But I don't know many. And there's a few. If you said their names, I go, "Oh yeah,
Mahomes."
The quarterback. But I don't know. If you name some players, I probably go, "Yeah, I heard the name." But top of my head,
Jalen Hurts?
No.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts is
who's the guy that just got proposed to by Taylor Swift?
Travis
Kelce.
Yeah, Kelce. Has he got a brother as well that plays?
Yeah,
Jason Kelce.
Oh, yeah, I know the
There you
Kelce.
go. You got up to 5 now, Terry. Well done.
So yeah, look, from my point of view, but again, I enjoy the games, but I never sit there and give opinions on the sport, suggestions on how it should be better, because I don't think casuals have the right to tell a sport they watch on a casual basis. It's a bit like being in a casual relationship and then trying to say should buy a house together. So what are you talking about? Like, you're no right to talk about these things. You're casual. Like, when it's casual means something for a reason. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, casual fans should shut up. Ash, what are you here to say, bro?
Do you know what? I think Newcastle's had a better window than what people are giving us credit for. I think we have actually improved. Our spend that we've done this season is the same as Arsenal and Chelsea, and people, I think, have made that go under the radar. And I think we're actually going to be challenging for top 4 this season, and we could potentially have a deep run in the Champions League. I think we are severely underrated, and I quite like that, because it's like we're being a bit of underdogs at the moment. And the thing is, I don't I don't think people can say. Let me guess, Terry from laughing because he just saw 11 rejections. I saw in the comments.
I love it. Chat away.
I'll let you continue, Ash. I actually agree with you to a large extent. But go on, sorry, go on.
So I think it's very important to look at the transfer window and see outgoings and ingoings. I think it tells a lot about a club, about the average age of what's come in and what's gone out. And we've got a lot of sort of 24-year-old players and younger and stuff. So I think they're coming into their prime. Obviously, we've got Wissa that's coming towards the end of his prime, but that's more of a stopgap. I think we've got an incredibly what's that?
A 55 million stopgap. That's a bit.
Hey, listen. Hey, if he gets us, if he scores goals, gets us Champions League, that pays.
I think this is good. But you can't say you didn't overpay for Gaga. And what is that, 25% sell-on clause just in case you do sell him? Yeah.
Brentford finessed you on that deal 100%.
It's a bit mad.
They absolutely finessed you. When we got Embremo for 65 and you pay 55 for the 28-year-old.
Yeah, but different players.
I know, but It's a 10 million difference. They finessed you. I couldn't believe it when I saw that price tag.
I
Went from
get
what
that.
25, 30 to
And
55. You were desperate.
Okay,
and
but
Walter Marder, 85 million euros is insane.
I think it's going to take him a very long time to like develop, not just adjust league, but also develop. He's very raw.
But I actually don't think Voltamada is going to take as long as what you think it because of his stature and how he plays the game. He is obviously he's one of those players that it's not a typical number 9 in the way he looks. Like he is massive, but he likes to have the ball to his feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's going to change our style of play a bit. That we're going to have Visser and Voltamada on the pitch, where we're going to have.
They're saying it's the new Peter Crouch Defoe partnership. Is that true?
Oh my god!
Wait, don't.
Right, who said that? That's just you that said that.
No respect.
Nah, I saw it yesterday. It was there. There was pictures.
I'm going to get so much stick for saying this. I think Tottenham had a great window.
So let's stick on Newcastle for a bit, though. Let's stick
for my own fan base. But I'm just looking through the spreadsheets, looking at.
I think this is the problem. I think this season, every club has spent so much. Like I think as a whole, the squad for every single club has been raised tenfold.
No, I do agree. I do agree with you. Like Man United, I gave our window a 5.5 out of 10 because I'm factoring everything in, and I'm being quite harsh in the sense of I don't think we could have done much more to get rid of Sancho's and Anthony's and Garnacho's earlier because of they weren't open to going to multiple places. If Anthony would have said I'm open to going Saudi or other clubs, if Garnacho, Bayern Munich came in and offered more money to Garnacho and for Garnacho, we can't make a player go to another club if they've got their eyes set on something. But I still look at it as a club, what we delivered, all being equal, the money we spent, the timing, what we actually improved the squad with. I give it a 5.5 out of 10. But in terms of what we have brought into the club, the 4 main signings we've had, that they are an improvement on every single player that they've replaced. So that's why my expectations for us to improve is there.
Do you think Le Mans is better than Onana, or do you know
yes.
about the player?
Yes.
Everybody's better than them too. Everybody.
Definitely.
And I even said the same. We'll get on to United in a second, but with Newcastle, look, you're never replacing Isak like for like. The same as Salah will never be. I don't think Salah may ever be replaced at Liverpool, not in our lifetime. If he really is their greatest ever player, what is the likelihood of the next right winger they sign being as good as their greatest ever player? Just logic dictates that's not going to happen. The same as Reinders and Cherki could end up being brilliant in the aggregate, but they are not going to be KDB, who is their greatest ever player. Again, how many? Just go through the history of English football, because you have to compare it to where we are. How many clubs have had their greatest ever player or one of their greatest ever players leave, and the next guy is as good or better? Just go through 140 years. It rarely happens. So there's this element of...
Could they have been out there together at the same time, then one just gets better while one is the other one is
maybe.
But I'd say Rooney really took off the year after Ronaldo left. Like when Rooney started to become really,
No. But Rooney and Ronaldo are not our greatest ever players.
Right.
So Bobby Charlton and George Best exist, but it's this thing of Paul Scholes and Giggs are above them in my eyes. But still, the point is there. We actually haven't had a striker and attacker as consistent as Rooney since Rooney, as good as him. We haven't had a right winger as good and as consistent since Cristiano Ronaldo. We haven't had a left winger as good or as consistent as Ryan Giggs since he left. Now, part of that has been bad recruitment with Manchester United, but at the same time, I still don't know if anyone's going to live up to would surpass those levels, because you could make an argument that Mo Salah, since Ronaldo's peak, it has surpassed. Some people would say done better than Ronaldo. Some would say he hasn't. I don't want to have the debate.
Has he played longer in the league than Ronaldo ever did?
Yeah, he has. But the debate's almost irrelevant. But the debate is there. But it's one player in the better part of 20 years, and that's across 20 clubs buying right wingers. So the idea that your club's next player is going to be as good as your greatest ever in that position, it's illogical to think that way.
Well, we went from Henry to Van Persie like right away.
No, that's not fully true either, because even when you had Van Persie, he had big injury issues, and he had a period of bedding in and getting used to the Premier League. It's only his last 2 seasons at Arsenal.
We had Adebayor in between.
But you've just proven the point. I love RVP, but RVP is nowhere near Henry's level for Arsenal. Even at his peak, he wasn't as good. And Henry was just consistent for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Van Persie was a good player that was always injured and had one amazing season. Then he joined Manchester United. The thing is you just go through it and you might find anomalies where it's happened. But typically speaking, you look at Newcastle. They had Alan Shearer. It took them until Alexander Isak to genuinely have a striker that was anywhere near that level of consistency. And so the thing is, I don't think my point was actually going to be about Newcastle. But I think they've improved their attack as a collective. I think Isak and Callum Wilson, I think that Wissa and Voltemada collectively will outperform Isak and Callum Wilson. Neither will outperform Isak individually, but as a collective, I think they score more league goals.
I actually think that Ekitike scores more league goals than Isak.
No.
I mean, he really has more now. I just think it's going to take a time for...
played. What do you mean?
No, the thing is this is my... Not, by the way, I just want to clarify. I do not think that Ekitike is a better player than Isak.
Bro, you've just said a player has scored more goals than someone who hasn't played a single minute.
Wait. But we're still... The stats are still the stats. The stats are still the stats, regardless of all the what goes into it. I just think it's going to take a time for... Because Isak has gone through all this whole saga with, holding out on Newcastle and everything like that. It's a very emotionally draining, and he also hasn't necessarily had a preseason at all. So his preseason really starts.
You can't do that. No.
Training individually is not the same. Gyökeres now is still training extra on his own because of what happened with Sporting before he left Arsenal. It does take time.
Have you not seen the training that people do nowadays? Like in training, the reason why people get injured so much is because they are literally working at a level that's at the match to be match fit. Like there's a whole reason why people get injured so easily. And there is only one thing that I will say that could potentially mean that Ekitike the asterisk that he might score more goals than Isak is injury prone. And that can't be disputed because he's been injured so many times for us. It's been insane when we had him. That was one thing that I was happy about Wissa. He doesn't have a high injury record, so it's going to be interesting to see how he goes.
I think Newcastle will. Like I said it the other day on Straight Facts when Terry was away. I was like, I don't think Newcastle need Isak. Like this whole thing of they need Isak, otherwise they're not going to do anything. Looking at those first 3 games, I didn't look at a team and say the only reason why they didn't win is because they didn't have Isak. I was like, the only reason why they didn't win is because they didn't have a striker. It wasn't Isak specifically. It was just a striker they needed. The base of Newcastle is good enough. It is.
I agree. I agree completely. Pav,
Terry, do you remember that kid that used to come on this show time ago, eye test, tell us about Isak, and we used to just bash him over the head about him? And now it's come true.
No. Don't get it twisted, Pav. He watches the show from time, and then he'll tweet me and Terry like, "I told you that. Why delete this? Why delete that?" I'm like, bruv. He said at the time, that Isak was better than Haaland when he was scoring goals for Dortmund and scoring goals for Man City. That is why me and Terry bashed.
It doesn't sound too bad now, though.
No.
But you got to remember, he was saying at the time, that moment, he said he is better, and the claim
they were both playing for Dortmund.
I mean, he wasn't like lighting up lighting it up at where was it? Sorry, it was Sociedad.
So he was at Sociedad doing okay. Erling Haaland was killing. He'd already killed it at RB. He'd moved to Dortmund. Now the world purring over him. And his claim was right now he's better. He didn't say, trust me, guys, in 3 or 4 years' time, Isak's going to be better. It was right now he is. Now, interestingly, as good as Isak is, there is still an argument to say that he still isn't better than Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland had his worst season in 3 years last year and still outscored him.
People forget about Erling Haaland when they talk about like they disrespect that guy so much. There's no player I fear more in the Premier League than Haaland.
Yeah, but it's also a case of familiarity breeds. Is it familiarity breeds contempt or whatever it is? You get used to things and you stop realizing how good they are.
Thing is what's exciting,
because there is that certain thing there. I've got a few super chats here I'm going to jump to. The first one says, it was actually from earlier, I missed it. It says, big up Terry and all the TFT brilliant transfer videos, really enjoyed them, keep up the great work. Thank you, the Football Zone. VVD, Kanate, Gomez, Leone, Stevenson, Endo.
Stevenson.
I don't know. He's obviously a kid. There must be a kid. Has to be. You didn't sign him. Okay. Yeah, decent. Big up TFT. Had a giggle hearing the reports that Andre Onana demanded a 25% wage increase. Now, I want to address this.
That is actually yeah, the guy's got some balls. Give him credit.
Well, this is also another reason why he's got to go, right? This is another reason why he's got to go, because it shows you exactly where his mentality is. And when I read this story this morning, it did make my blood boil. So everyone got a 25% wage cut because there was no Champions League football. He is one of the biggest components into why we didn't make Champions League football, because how bad he's been in goal. And he has the audacity to ask for a pay rise as though he's been amazing. Straight away, that's a red flag to say, sell that son of a gun now. Because for me, the man's a howl waiting to happen. And
yeah, it's absolutely, like you said, the audacity is a joke. And I know we was discussing Martinez potentially coming in because he will have the character to be a Man United goalkeeper. He won't care what people think. But I think Martinez also has some kind of self-respect and pride about levels that he has to perform at. The thing is with Onana, he doesn't care what people think, but he also doesn't have self-reflection. He doesn't have self-respect and pride in his work. Because if he did, you don't come back waltzing in after having a disgraceful performance in a final, having a disgraceful moments throughout the 2 years you've been here already. You wouldn't come in waltzing in expecting a contract. That's it. It's a joke. It's a joke, and it's one of those ones where I can see why Amorim hasn't played him. Yeah. I can see why, because if I'm the coach, I'm like, hold on, who are you? Who are you to come in bowling in expecting a new contract? Nah. I know Bayern is terrible as well, but he's gonna play over you, and you have to reprove yourself because you think you're better than you are.
This whole time here has been a joke, whether it's our club or not. At AFCON, man got dropped for his cousin. For his cousin. Might even happen again this AFCON coming.
Yeah, no, I agree. I also look at it this way. I'm glad we obviously didn't do it, because the message that sends, be bad for 2 years, the final where we could have been in the Champions League, which would have seen you not get a pay decrease. You should have saved the only real attempt on goal that Spurs had. You should have saved it. If you then reward that with a pay increase, any attempt of trying to fix our culture disappears, because the rest of the squad go, what the fuck? You can fail and get pay rises here. That sends the complete opposite message to what you want. It should be you foul that dramatically, you're booted out the football club at the quickest through the quickest and most convenient door, because that's how you set the standards. This here says Onana got to go. If you are walking in asking for a pay rise and you are one of the reasons why the club struggled, you are an effing clown and got to go. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And a lot of people are asking, do I think Lemaines is better? Yes, I think he will be, but I think there's a good chance he is better for us.
What do you know about Lemaines? I'm actually really curious, because I actually don't know anything about him. Like you've clearly done a lot of research, both of you. So.
Well, again, when I say research, I mean, look, if you look at if you look at the numbers, so he's got a much better save percentage. He prevents more goals from going in, and just some stats that were shown to me against Bayern as an example. Earlier on today, where are these gone? They were sent through to me. So if you just compare him to Bayern for a moment. Sort of saves in and around 10% more shots that go out and prevents more goals. When it comes to less errors leading to goals, the one that I looked at was high claims. So, for instance, so far this season, Bayern has caught 3 crosses that have come into the box. Okay, faced a similar amount of crosses. I'm just gonna, whoever's playing on their mouse, I was gonna mute you if you could, just so we don't get the background noise. Sorry. Lemaines has caught 11 of them. The one area that is a worry with Lemaines is that because he's so eager to catch crosses, he sometimes gets caught under them on corners, and that happens. But across general play, statistically, things are better. So there is a chance there is an improvement in here. There's a lot of scouting that's gone into this guy. Makes very, very good saves. But the one thing I've never seen him do, I've never seen a shot hit at him and him dive in the wrong direction. He's got very strong wrists in the sense of if he gets a hand to a shot, invariably he's saving it. He's very, very athletic in goal, can get to areas a lot easier than what we see Onana, who just looks like he's stuck in the mud most of the time. He's very commanding in his box, which neither Bayanda or Onana are. They flap at everything. The corners has got to be worked on. So that's something I've seen where he's being. But again, you say that he's been caught under a few corners. I think all goalies get caught under some corners. I don't think it's
the thing that he can do well when he does get caught underneath a corner, he can recover from that position. Whereas Bayanda and Onana, they get caught in a corner and they're scrambling around, just don't know what to do. He will make a decision, either retreat to his line and get in there and make sure he can make a save. Also, I've seen things where he's done this before, where he's been caught in a corner, and instead of like just freezing, he rushes the oncoming attacker, and he blocks the next coming shot. So he's got quick decision making when he makes a mistake. Our keepers can't do that.
And I'll say it this way, just for Maradona wants me to clarify what I've said. There is a chance that he is an improvement. But what I'll say is this: I believe there is no chance that he's worse than Bayanda and Onana. So he's going to be as good or better. I don't think it'll be worse than them for us, and that'll be an improvement if you want to.
There has been some nasty work going on since yesterday. Since that deal got done, the amount of video clips here of our new keeper pointing out all his mistakes and everything, and these I can't believe it. Like, they're apparently United accounts, but I don't think they are. I don't honestly think they are.
No,
why would you want to post up video clips of his mistakes? Like,
look, I do this with every player.
One of the videos is actually the other goalkeeper of Antwerp playing as well. So they've included another person's mistakes in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And this is what people do. They like to, like, lie is a strong word, but like banter, lie, whatever you want to call it, they will make things up or put in false information just for, and people believe it. I saw someone say about the Isak thing, Liverpool has spent 150 million pounds on a 27-year-old. And people there lapping it up. I'm just like, it's not even funny. You know what I mean? It's just stupid. But that's just football nowadays.
No, I totally agree. And I'm excited to watch him play. I haven't watched him enough, like, say, Emi Martinez. But the one thing, let's just give it a go. I'm not
taking Martinez instead. Well, who did you want yesterday?
I would have taken Martinez over him for the experience. But for me, it wasn't a choice of one guy good, one guy bad. I was happy with either of them, and I could see the merit in both. What United have decided to go for, what their briefing they've gone for, is the player they think has got the more longevity and a higher ceiling at this stage. So let's see how it works out for us. I also think we're gonna spin it in a very interesting way. I still think we're gonna spin it as he's coming in as a backup. You saw the way he was announced. No real fanfare, no real noise.
But I think you need that though, as the Man United. I agree. Need that right now.
To be fair, since I forget when it was. I think since after Jadon Sancho, Ronaldo, Varane summer, since then our way that we announce our signings has decreased.
It's literally just posted a picture.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Buemo's one is like,
yeah. Before we used to do the whole like Pogba back. You had the Alexis Sanchez,
the Bruno.
The Bruno. You have these big, massive announcement videos, these hype, these little. We've stopped really much doing all of that. It's
just a stadium reveal now, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, stadium reveal.
And an interview. That's about it.
Interview. It'll do a photo shoot in a very basic set, very normal set, nothing over the top. Yeah. So I think that's been helping our signings as well, because the hype is a bit more relaxed.
I agree. And at the end of the day, this is, if Lemaines is able to, and look, he's playing a different league with better players, more speed, more velocity in the shots. If he's able to bring his output over, if he can maintain the save percentage, if he can maintain within reason the goals that he prevents, if he's able to continue commanding his box and catching the crosses and corners into the box and clearing them the way he does for Belgium, he will be a marked improvement if he's able to do that. So essentially, I haven't watched him enough to sit here and give a categorical answer that he will be better. What I can say, if he's able to bring that form across, you will see a marked improvement. But we're also talking about an exceedingly low bar. I don't think people realize that even this season, forget the holes in midfield, forget the chances we've missed. And as I showed yesterday, and I stand on what I showed yesterday, when it comes to the chance creation in the Premier League, We're actually number 1 in the league so far this campaign. We're number 1 out of the big 6, the top 6 sides, as you can see here. No one has created more goal scoring opportunities than Man United, but you can see the conversion rate is the worst out of everybody, where Liverpool are the complete opposite end of that spectrum. But all of that being said, I think with Lemaine's in goal, I'd put some serious money on us not losing to Arsenal opening game. And I think we end up we beat Fulham, because I don't believe their confidence grows, and their confidence grew through crosses into the box and corners. And I think we also beat Grimsby, because as bad as we were, by the way, Grimsby had just been fine. They fielded an ineligible player for that game who should not have been played. My view is they should rightfully give us that place in the competition because they cheated. But there we go.
EFL don't kick out; they just fine. The FA Cup kick out though, which is
I get that. I'm only being flippant, but I think if Lemaine's, let me just finish. I think if Lemaine's is in goal, there's a distinct possibility we win those games, or at least draw against Arsenal and beat Fulham, because the goalkeeping errors, the mistakes in those matches were so big, you can't deny them. And we've had so many of them in recent years where we've lost games or drawn games in the Prem, where our goalies have made, and people look at the stats, errors leading to goals. When Onana dives the wrong way for a shot, it doesn't count as an error leading to goal. When he doesn't save that weird goal in the Europa League final, that doesn't count as an error. Although we as football fans watch it and go, it was a bloody error, because of the way his movement and positioning was so bad. And if you've watched United close enough, there was the Champions League campaign 2 years ago. The amount of times we conceded goals that should never be goals, and only one of them went down as an error leading to a goal. They would just, so if a ball gets crossed into the box and your goalkeeper just watches it bounce into the goal because his feet are footed, that doesn't count as an error leading to a goal. Although in reality, it fucking is, because he conceded, I think, 5 of them in the group stage of the Champions League. 5! Yeah, I've got a very, very strong case that Lemaine's is going to be better. But then I think if we brought Van der Sar out of retirement, there's a good chance he's better. I watched him at Soccer Aid. I think he was better. So Aiden's with us. What are you saying, bro? Right before the end of the show, what are you saying?
I'm good. Yeah, I just thought I'd come on and talk about United's transfer window. I think I spoke about it a lot this summer with Lemens. He's clear improvement on Onana and Bayunda, but it's not hard. But as we've seen, like shown on the stats and stuff, he's very good at claiming the ball, which it's been a massive problem at United. Not even just from Onana, from De Gea, it's been a massive problem with United's goalkeepers. So I think with Lemens coming in, will come a lot more solid team at the back, especially because our defense hasn't actually been the bad point. Our defense has been very strong. It's been the goalkeeper that has been making a lot of the problems. But also with the fee that we did, it's a very low risk fee. Realistically, it's not a massive amount of money for a relatively young player. Which I think, if we went in for Martinez, they're quoting, I think, 30-40 million. So for a player at Martinez's age, and I know it's a lot of experience, he's World Cup winner, but I think at the age that he is and where Man United are right now, it would have been a massive risk if it didn't work out. So I think the 18-20 million, however much we paid for Lemens, it's a low risk deal. If it doesn't work out, then it's fine. And I think Lemens will be a success United. And to be honest, Lemens coming in, I'm a lot more confident for the rest of the season in the Prem, especially.
Yeah, I was just thinking something, Terry. You guys talking about all your keepers, and I just feel like there might be one thing that might be in common here. Like for instance, for us, I remember we were in a similar position when we bought Aaron Ramsdale. So we had many issues with Leno. But what Arteta and Arsenal did as well at the same time as bringing in Aaron Ramsdale was we brought in Iñaki Kanya, who is a world-class goalkeeping coach. So like the habits that a lot of your goalkeepers might have, you might bring in Lemens, but who's coaching Lemens? Is more like kind of my question. Like you're only going to really get that much out of the player if you've got someone in the background who's getting the best out of him. Like I feel like it's not necessarily always about just the talent. Because Leno was a great talent. He came from Bayer Leverkusen. He was one of the best keepers in the Bundesliga. He came to Arsenal. We didn't have the right support staff around him. I'm just trying to think outside the box. And
no, I'm sorry, Anton. I'm sorry. There's no amount of coaching that you can do to stop players who want to throw the ball at the back of the net to throw in the back of the net.
But what you can do is that when he's doing that, you call him out for it. And
do you think they're not calling him out? Are we sitting?
I mean, it seems like because he keeps doing it.
Are we okay? No, I'm sorry. No, are we just sitting here thinking? You know what, Man United's coaching staff. I say, you know what, Artai, Andre, you threw it in the back of the net. You flapped at it once again. Good, well done. Like keep going. No, they're telling them what's wrong. But as much as we harp on about coaching, we harp on about structure, system, positions, all these different things we go on about. But at the end of the day, the coach is not on the pitch. So I can coach you to be the best goalkeeper in the world. But if you've not got the mentality or the concentration to not stop making mistakes, how's that my fault? I've done my job. I've told you how to improve. I've told you the things there to do when players are doing this, players are doing that. But if you're there to still derping around, I'm sorry, you can't do it. Why didn't Pep just keep Joe Hart? Because he couldn't do the things he wanted to do, even with coaching. Sometimes you just got to get rid of man.
Can I ask you a question at Arsenal? Did you change when you changed Raya for Ramsdale? Did you change coaches at the same time as well?
No, but the interesting thing is that Raya used to play under Iñaki Kanya at Brentford. So there was a familiarity there.
Okay, but you didn't change coaches, but you just upgraded on your goalkeeper. Now, Ramsdale's better than Onana and Bayandere, so the start point is higher. But you didn't change your coaches. I don't think our coaches.
But I'm saying beforehand when we brought in Ramsdale, who was at Sheffield United, and everyone was like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And there was a lot of uproar about why are we buying him and all this stuff. But the crucial part of his thing was that we brought in Kanya literally at the same time. So it wasn't just like Arteta was like, "I don't like Leno as a keeper." He was like, "I feel like we've had Leno, we had Petr Cech as well. I had before that, and the Petr Cech was still probably the poorest in his career ever when he was at Arsenal. Like the coaching was something was driving him to change something.
Yeah. Well, what do you think coaching staff for goalkeepers can massively do differently? Because I'm not being funny. I couldn't imagine as a goalkeeper there's a huge amount of different drills and stuff you can do.
I'm just saying if the same player is making the same mistake over and over and over and over and over again, they're clearly not drilling them hard enough or on the training.
No, it just means they're a bad player.
Being like trying to just, you know what I mean? Replay the scenario.
No, Anton. If Pep and his coaching staff got me and took me to Man City, they would, no matter coaching, will make me pass and have the right amount of speed, the right amount of football IQ to play Man City football.
That's not my point, though. That's not my point, though. My point is, we're talking about a new keeper that's coming in, Lemens, who's apparently got a lot of talent. I'm just saying, is the new coaching staff going to harness that talent, or is he going to end up like buying here?
Our goalkeepers are crap.
That's the only question I have. It's
look, fair, okay. Maybe it is our coaches that have made our goalkeepers bad. The problem is we have a different goalkeeping coach now for Onana to what Ten Hag had, and he was making the same mistakes. We've changed the coaches. We've got a new coaching team. We have a new system. So I look at it and think the common denominator has been those. That's why when people say that again, I know some people don't like three at the back, Terry, or I don't like zonal marking. That's the biggest issue as to why our goalkeepers are conceding. But we weren't using zonal marking with the previous manager, and we were using four at the back with the previous manager. And Onana was still making the same mistakes. So therefore, you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes for this level of deduction. If they're making the same mistakes in zonal marking as they are man marking, if they're making the same mistakes and making the same errors leading to goals with four at the back and three at the back, it's not and had different coaches and different goalkeeping coaches. For me, it's not the system, it's not the coaching, it's not the manager, it's not the system, it's not three at the back or four at the back. It's a shit goalkeeper. You break it down. If, for instance, Onana was killing it, and then we changed goalkeeping coaches, and he suddenly became crap. Bayandere was brilliant when we bought him. Comes into our club, starts being crap. Maybe you can look at it, but yeah, I look at it as we don't have very good goalkeepers, and and it's indecision because Onana's made some amazing saves for us. Bayandere is actually pretty good with his feet and distribution. He's actually been okay in every other facet since he's been in the United team this season, barring corners and crosses into the box. The problem that you have is that good crosses into the box are dangerous no matter what's going on. And when you have a team that's got a goalie that's weak, teams are then going to target those areas, and you just start whipping balls in. And if you haven't got a goalie I watched Raya against Liverpool, and every ball that went into the box, bang, there for it. Alisson the same, there for it. Imagine you had a goalkeeper that just didn't want to come out, and if he does, he misses it and flaps it in. You're just going to lose so many more football matches.
It's on that. The biggest thing a good goalkeeper does, it actually improves the mentality of the whole squad. Because how many times did you think back in the day with Liverpool when they had such a high line that they would know if someone got in behind, the chances are Alisson one-on-one to a striker, he's probably going to make a save. Like, you have to be able to trust the people behind you. And if I know Onana's behind me, I'm not being funny. It's flipping like having a wet wipe in goal. That shit ain't being saved. Yeah. But I do think you guys would have probably done better with Emi Martinez in goal, because I think there's something about his mentality. The guy's got a flipping loose screw in his head. I think he would suit Man United perfectly, because I think like
it's funny how he's changed. Because when he was at Arsenal, he was a totally different player. He was at Arsenal about 10 plus years. Like, he's like,
I think the World Cup did something to him.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember when he had the golden boot and started flipping waving it? That was a madness. That.
Yeah, and the one thing about it's crazy times. Look, I want to thank you boys for jumping on the show. I want to thank everyone who's tuned in. We're back live at 3:30 today for Straight Facts, so make sure you're tuning in with LB, myself, and Aaron. This is going to redirect you to her Sam's channel, so go and support my brother over there in his endeavors, please. But hit the like button before you go. Also, make sure you are subscribing as well. What is this here? Just to make sure we're not lying, the keeper is not the system, right, Terry?
This is Maradon being stupid again.
Maradon. I didn't say the keeper is part of the system. But if a goal, but I'll say it again, Maradon, so you can't twist it. KJ, clip it up. If a keeper is making the same errors in a 3 at the back system and a 4 at the back system, zonal marking, hybrid marking, or man-to-man marking, by deduction, you can work out the goalkeeper is the problem there over the system. That's just my view. You may disagree, Maradon, and we will see. Take care, people. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.